I, I'm, I got the victory over alcohol in 2008. And then I was able to stop smoking a year later, 2009. And since then, I've been drug-free. But I noticed that after I stopped using drugs, I also used to smoke marijuana, by the way, but that one was kind of just on and off. But I noticed that after I stopped drinking, smoking, all these things, I had other problems, emotional problems. And so I didn't like how I used to feel or treat other people. So I decided to do some research into why this is happening to me and what the problem could be and how I could overcome. And this led me into a very interesting study journey on understanding addictions, understanding how the brain works, our emotions, and all that. So when I was 14, I started experimenting with marijuana. I had friends who were already using it. I thought my friends were cool, so I wanted to be cool like them. So I started. By the time I was 16, I was drinking. And by the time I was 18, I was now smoking cigarettes.
So you advanced?
So it was an advance, yes. Yeah. So by the time I was 18, I was doing weed, cigarettes, and drinking regularly, at least every weekend. Yeah.
And your parents know about
yeah, I was getting into trouble. I remember one time my mom even found a weed, marijuana stick in my pocket.
What was her reaction?
Oh, it was chaos in the house.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Oh.
My dad hit the roof. Yeah, they were mad. And you see, these are Christian parents, so you can imagine how they felt. You know, they've been doing their best to raise Christian children, and now this. So they felt so bad and embarrassed. So yeah, I used to get in trouble. You know, even my performance in school, up until my teenage years, I was usually the top of my class.
But table stars.
Yeah, but then once I started getting into these problems, my school performance went down. I didn't do as well as I should have or I could have. And so that's what happened. The moment I landed in the US, I was already looking for the people who have a good time and how
Happy people.
they're happy people. Yes, and I found them. They're everywhere. Yeah, so that's what happened. And the problem became so bad. I remember even my friends at some point didn't want to hang out with me, because for me, when we went out drinking, I would end up either passing out, throwing up, or just being an embarrassment. And so they didn't like that, because my friends, them, they could drink a little bit
And they'd still be fine.
and they'll be okay,
Like nothing happened.
and go back to their room and wake up the next day, do their homework, their assignments, and go to class on Monday. For me, it was an embarrassment. And Monday morning, I was feeling so terrible, I couldn't go to class, I would just drink some more. So it got to a point where I was now drinking all the time. And because my friends didn't want to be with me, I started drinking alone. So I would go buy the alcohol, bring it to my room or my apartment. I eventually got my own place, and I'll just be there on my own. My parents didn't know how bad it was for a long time. They thought I was doing well in school. I used to lie to them, I'm doing well. But it was bad. I was on a flight back to Nairobi
From the States.
from the States. I didn't have any papers. I was just put on the plane. My girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, my brother who was in the US, you know, and my parents had talked and they said, get this guy out of there. So I was forced to get onto a plane to get back to Nairobi.
So you came with your girlfriend?
No, she stayed in the US. No papers. I had lost my passport. I didn't have my legal documentation to be in the US was not I didn't have anything. No money, no degree. I was looking terrible. It was bad. Yeah. So I got back to Nairobi. Fortunately, my parents, disappointed as they were, they didn't kick me out of the house, but they still saw hope, and they decided to just help me clean up. In January 2008, I went to see a doctor, and they did the checkups. The doctor called me in to come and discuss the results about a few days later. So he told me, now Alvin, everything else looks okay, but there's one problem here I want to talk to you about. So he asked me, how much do you drink? So I told him I drink once in a while. He knew I was lying. So it showed me a scan of my liver. Yeah. He said, now look at this is a picture of your liver. Your liver is fatty. I didn't know what that meant, but he explained to me, now fatty, when the liver is fatty, it means it's not healthy, it's sick. After fatty, you get what is called cirrhosis. Cirrhosis is cancer of the liver. So he told me that whenever someone comes into his clinic with fatty liver, he insists that they must stop drinking. If they have cirrhosis, he tells them it doesn't matter. You can drink whether you want to or not. There's not much we can do for you. But since you have this fatty liver, I'm going to insist that you stop drinking. Sour. So he said, are you going to be able to stop on your own? I said yes. So he told me, okay, look, let's make a deal. If you stop on your own, great. But if I hear that you are drinking, you give me permission to take you to rehab. Okay? So me, I just wanted to be out of that office so I could go and drink. I said sour. And as soon as I left there, I went to drink. So one Saturday morning, after a long night of drinking, I wake up to get something to eat from the fridge. I was living with my brother at the time in Nairobi. There was a knock on the door. I opened the door and there was two gentlemen rather. One of them said he was a police officer, and the other one said I think he said he's like a medical assistant or something like that, and they are here to take me somewhere. So I told them, I'm not ready to go anywhere with you, leave me alone. But they insisted, no, let's go. So they grabbed me, took me with them, took me to rehab. And that's where I was for 6 weeks. And while I was in rehab, I got to understand what addiction is. I got to meet other people who have the same problem as me. And thank God, I then got I resolved that I wanted to stop. One of the reasons I wanted to stop, I resolved to stop. If someone tells you, if you see someone with an addiction, they are sick. And it's very serious. It's a very serious illness. So we should empathize. So the first most important step is to acknowledge you have a problem. Then the other one is to realize that you can't help yourself. Only God can help you. Yeah. So you'll need to get on your knees and ask God to help you, and in many cases, especially for drug addictions, you may need professional help. You know, you may have to go to rehab. So it depends on the situation. But first acknowledge you have a problem, and then acknowledge you can't help yourself.